Promote a culture of inclusion, supercharge your communication, and unleash the full potential of your teams and leaders with the Inclusive Handbook collection from the Diversity Movement. As part of the collection, I wrote the Inclusive Leadership Handbook with Kurt Merriweather to empower leaders with tools needed to cultivate a culture that fosters creativity, innovation, and employee engagement. Through strategies, exercises, and self-reflection, leaders at all levels can enhance their effectiveness. Learn more at thediversitymovement.com/store. Use code HOL at checkout for 25% of your first order. Welcome to High Octane Leadership with Donald Thompson. This season, we're diving deeper with more solo episodes, where I'll share the experiences that have led to recognition by EY, Forbes, Fast Company, and others. Not as a boast, but as milestones on my entrepreneurial path. From growing multi-million-dollar firms to successful business exits and building high-performance teams with a global perspective. I'll reveal the insights and strategies from my journey and share them with you so that we can win together. Alongside these solo episodes, we'll have industry visionaries and thought leaders, and we'll explore effective leadership. Ready to empower your leadership journey with real success stories? Let's embark on this transformational journey together. I am here today with Adam Schultz, and Adam, which he'll share in a minute as I give him some space to do a bio, has been in the digital space. He is a lecturer, speaker. He works within the university. He is a savant in terms of the foundational education and execution around startups. And he's here to talk about not teaching startups, but a startup that he now is launching and leading and taking to market. And one of the things I think that's powerful is he is certainly money motivated, as we all are. We got bills, mortgage, kids, family, all that stuff. But this startup is to help people reduce the chances or eliminate their ability to have Alzheimer's. And so many of our folks in the world, not just country, are dealing with things that are preventable or we can delay. And so we want to learn about that today. So Adam, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here and to talk to your audience about the cognitive health.
One of the things I want to do is, before we jump in, tell the audience a little about you, background, married, partner, kids, brothers, sisters, where you went to school. Give a 1 to 2 minute kind of bio snapshot.
Yeah, I've got 3 kids. I am married. I live in Durham, and I do improv. I've got a team called Rigsby Avenue. We perform in Durham. There's 3 of us. It's really fun. And I love traveling. Like, any chance I have to see the world, understand different perspectives. There's so many different ways that societies can organize themselves, and values that they choose. And so it's so important to see that and be a part of that, and I myself am Buddhist. And so there's nothing like being, as a Buddhist person who recognizes the divinity in all people, like being in a place like Cambodia or Thailand where everyone else there is also Buddhist, like seeing the way they look at you because they know that you are a divine being. Like it's I don't know, just travel really, more than anything else, has expanded my understanding of people in the world and desire to try to make it better.
Oh, that's fantastic. And that's one of the reasons we're kindred spirits, is we're trying to create a better place for all to work, to live, and enjoy the fruits of our country in particular. And then, as you say, the travel opportunities. So let's dig into Mindr. Talk to the audience about what Mindr is, where the brainchild came from. Talk a little bit about your business, and then we'll dig into kind of what it does and some of the behavioral impacts.
Yeah, to start off, like, for most of my career, I've been working in either marketing or teaching in digital platforms. One of my first jobs was building smile presentations in real media for NC State, sending CD-ROM correspondence courses. So I've been dealing with digital ed for most of my career. And so since then, I've had an agency that focused on digital ed, supporting marketing, educational programs, building educational programs, and also had a number of startups in the digital education space. And so when I met my co-founders with Mindr, Ina and Tim, they showed me some data around how preventable Alzheimer's and dementia is, and how important a few key behaviors are for maintaining your cognitive health. And as soon as I saw it, specifically the finger trial, which was a study done in 2015, that basically said it was the first multi-domain placebo-controlled trial that said that wasn't just a single intervention. That was, well, what if we do all 5 of these things that we know each one is a contributor? What if we did them all? What if we surrounded a person with these interventions to help them reduce all of the risk factors that we're aware of? What would happen? And they saw a 25% improvement in cognition for their target group, for people at risk of Alzheimer's and dementia.
That is powerful.
Right, and that was just the first study. Since then, there's Fingers International, and there's been studies. But the first one was in Finland. Since then, they've been all over the place. And the Lancet Commission recently did a 2024 summary of all of these studies, and they basically said that if you can account for the modifiable risk factors in your life, right? Diet, exercise, socialization, cognitive engagement, medical issues, right? Like if you keep blood pressure under control, you keep your diabetes under control. If you can do these things, they estimate that 50% of the future cases of Alzheimer's and dementia can be prevented. Oh, sorry, almost 50%. It's 45, but almost half of future cases of Alzheimer's and dementia could be prevented through lifestyle intervention.
I am usually not speechless, but I took a dramatic pause because I don't think people know or understand that.
Nobody knows this. People don't understand this, right? It's not a molecule. It's not a pill. It's not treating amyloid, right? It's not something that can easily be commercialized. In the finger trial themselves in 2015, they said this was really expensive and hard to do. We don't know how to make this affordable and scalable, right? But I spent my entire career scaling educational and behavioral interventions, right? I even did a year's a fellowship with the Duke Social Science Research Center under Dan Ariely. This is doable. I knew this was doable. So as soon as I saw it and met them, I was like, I'm in. Let's do this. I know exactly what to do. They had about 30 grand in the bank, and we used that over the next 6 months to build and deploy a pilot for 17 users that we recruited on Facebook. They ranged in age from 50 to 85, and it was just a 90-day program, and it was static. It was just basically an online course that walked them through each of the key risk factors and asked them to do one thing that day to reduce their risk, right? Maybe it was, hey, go through your house, let's get rid of all your sugary foods. Next time you go shopping, let's introduce more greens and whole foods into your diet. Let's teach you about the whole food diet or teach you about the Mind diet. If you're not doing any physical activity, let's get you started. Let's get you just walking 5 minutes a day, right? Like we looked at each of the 5 areas and we started, hey, is your blood pressure under control? Let's work on getting that under control, right? And taught them about the importance of each of these things. And after 90 days, we had incredible results. We had 88% adherence. People were using our little educational pilot program 15 to 45 minutes a day for 90 days. And we had 88% activity adherence. And the reason we had high adherence is because there was a human involved. There was a person watching what they were doing, calling them, texting them if they were off track, helping them, reminding them, hey, don't forget to log into Mindr today. Right? And what it ultimately comes down to is that most folks, they get overwhelmed by all the things they would need to do, right? A doctor says, hey, you might be at risk for Alzheimer's. And they're, okay, what should I do? Here's a pamphlet, right? If they even mention it. Most physicians, 55% of physicians aren't even comfortable diagnosing dementia or Alzheimer's, let alone catching an early sign that when there's things that can be done. Right. So I'll kind of go back. I'll go back to the pilot. So we had 71% of our participants in our little pilot saw improvement in their memory by the end of 90 days. 50% could recall recent conversations more clearly, and 43% reported fewer instances of misplacing, or losing objects. And that suggests that by in just our completely static, not customized to each user, some of them were kind of frustrated. They were like, I already eat fine. I don't want this eating content. We're like, sorry. We got a lot of great feedback that went into how we ended up developing the product that we're in beta testing for now. But just in 90 days, we saw significant improvement in health outcomes. Just number of inactive days went from 10 per month to 3.5 days per month. 70% improvement in number of unactive days. And that was with a static, just standard program that wasn't customized, wasn't any of the things that we're building in our new beta version. We were able to digitize the finger trial, we believe. Obviously, more testing. We needed to deploy the larger version, but that was proof to us that we can deliver health outcomes via a purely digital interface with a human coach and get high engagement, high adherence, and deliver health outcomes.
That is phenomenal. Like, one of the questions that I have, we were talking about the prevention or delaying of Alzheimer's, but on the path of these behavioral changes, you're also helping people create better quality of life right now.
Yeah. Within 90 days, we saw significant benefits to lifestyle.
You talked about the thought process of behavioral change. How does that now blend itself into technology? And how do you keep that same stickiness, right, when you're going to have to do this at scale versus with 17, 20 folks and a small team that seems very reasonable? Talk to me about that business process as you're building the product and then that scalability with this in the digital world.
Yeah. So step one was proof of concept. Can we, right? I teach startup. So like I have to MVP, right? I can't not do minimum viable each time I launch something. So the first one was absolutely off the shelf technology, nothing technological, just testing the interventions and the human accountability aspect. And that worked. We felt really good about that. So then I recruited a team and we started working on the next version. We started this back in October 23. So AI wasn't a thing yet. It was, but like not like it is now. We thought then that AI is 2-3 more years and it'll be where we need it to be. And then by June of that year, June of 24, all of that was completely different. Like the first agentic technology was already starting to launch by June of 24. So sometimes we miss, sometimes we make a bad assumption, right? It happens. Yeah. The important thing is admitting it and fixing it. But we had already started working on a version of the product that we felt that we could build with the 5-person team that we had. And it was all static. It was basically taking the feedback from the pilot, and functionally the biggest feedback we got was people were like, I need this to be personalized. I don't want to do that 90 days again if I have to repeat the things that I'm already good at. Some people, their diet's great, but they're interested in cognitive engagement. Some people are homebodies and they're like, I really need the help getting more social. Some people have more medical issues and they're like, I really need the help reminding me what I need to be doing to get my blood pressure and my diabetes under control, right? So, and there's really good data that says that if you can get 4 or 5 of these risk factors under control, that there's a chance of like 60% prevention in some populations, right? But if you can just focus on 2 or 3, there's still like a 40% benefit, right? So it's not the kind of thing where you have to do it all to see a benefit. Whichever risk factors you can get under control gives you that much benefit, whatever you can achieve. So what we set out to do was create 6 customizable pathways, and we wrote it out like a choose your own adventure book. So we basically built this really complicated chatbot, right? That just expands out. And as you answer questions up front, as you start to onboard, we start assigning you content relevant to your level of risk and your specific area of risk in that particular risk factor. There's kind of 16 key risk factors we're focused on now. There's really 23 that we want to grow to. Things like sleep, right? If you're not getting enough sleep, that can impact your cognitive decline. Hearing loss. If you have untreated hearing loss, that can increase your risk of dementia by 30%. So it's all of these little things. And so So we built it out, and we started alpha testing kind of in October of last year. We just finished our first beta test, and it's good. Like, it's going really well. We've got still really high engagement. We've got to figure out some onboarding issues, but it's solid. And what's happening is the content's wrapping itself around each person, so they only experience the content that they need for their risk factors.
And how much you mentioned that there was 15 to 45 minutes a day of engagement during the first small pilot, small focus group.
Right.
What are you seeing in the engagement as you've moved to even more digital experience in the beta?
It's much lower and much more targeted. So we're targeting 5 to 15 minutes a day by being able to focus in on just the risk factors they have. So much quicker, much easier. And the coaching time. So the two pieces that are hard, right, is building out all this content, right? That makes this difficult to scale as a business because we're writing it all. We're handwriting it all. We're writing these choose your own adventure books. And then the other piece is the coaching time. And so right now, our coach is going into the coaching dashboard, watching everyone's activity and interacting and chatting with them when they need to. And so we're currently prior to a commercial launch, we still need to finish up the coaching experience so that the coach has an efficient experience. And then I think we're going to be able to come to market with a reasonably affordable product, but it still won't be radically scalable because of the time it takes to create the content and troubleshoot the content, and the time that we're spending coaching, because the coach is still spending a lot of manual time doing assessment and doing analysis of where each person is. So the next iteration for us is AI integration of content creation and coach like modification, so that we can actually have an agent do the first line of defense on the personal coaching side. Hey, I noticed you didn't log in today. An agent can do that, right? But the human coach is still there watching, monitoring to make sure that our client knows that Nikki is still watching. Nikki is still paying attention. Nikki is still going to call you if you have 2 days in a row where you didn't do any of your activities, right? So we kind of have a clear technology pathway, and we're overlapping right now and finishing up our commercial V1, as I just brought on 2 AI engineers who are starting to work on our agentic approach for each of these 16 to 23 risk factors.
So 2 questions now, moving to business go-to-market, right? So you have created and told a powerful story based on the data of why people should change these behaviors. Step 1. Second piece is you're getting people to use your experience with helping them manage those behaviors and encouragement, right? So now for a successful entrepreneurial journey, right, how are we going to get people to pay for it? What's the path to POs? What's the path to users? What's the business model?
Yeah. So early on, I think we're going to have no issue. And we've already done some pricing testing with our pilot. We took our pricing test. We basically offered another 90 days of our pilot to our 17 users who had just gone through it. We said, if you want to continue and do it again, because it wasn't customized. We couldn't. It was just like, well, we'll start you back at the beginning and you can do it again. And of our 17, we had 4 people choose to do that, and they paid $75 a month for it.
That's fantastic.
Right. So that was our pricing test to be like, all right, validated. Like, people will pay for, and those people did the whole 90 days. And when we turned it off, they were like, please, can we continue? We were like, we're sorry. You're only paying us like 70 a month. It's costing us 300 a month to run this thing. Like it was like we were losing money on that, like hand over fist. And so we had to shut it down just because it was a money loser, and we're bootstrapped. But we got enough out of it to know, all right, check. We know that we can charge for this. We know they'll pay at least $75 a month for a bad product, right? At least 1/4 of the people who went through it, 25% conversion rate, that paid. That's great. Those are great metrics on a pilot, right? So now we just have to deliver the long-term value and make it scalable and affordable. So out of the gate, we're likely going to take our this commercial product that we're about getting ready to launch. And it's been 4 to 6 weeks away for launch for 4 to 6 weeks. So we're in that window, right? We're in that window of like, okay, like we're really close, but also there's stuff to do. But our goal is to launch that with maybe a $40 a month for no coach meeting every month, a 70 to 80 a month for a coach meeting every month, and like 120 a month for a coach meeting every week, right? Where you actually get to hang out, talk to your coach about what's going on, and figure out what changes they need to help make. Otherwise, in the lowest version, you can still chat with your coach in the in-app chat, but you're not meeting with them, right? And that just reduces coach time, which reduces cost for us. And that's fine. And for the folks who are able to pay, that's great. But my interest is I really want everyone to have it. And interestingly enough, people of color and women are significantly more at risk of cognitive decline than white men. And so, and I know there's some socioeconomic factors at play there as well in terms of ability to pay for something like that. And so it's really important to me that we find a way to make sure that everybody can have access to this, especially those who are intersectionally more at risk. And I think that the only way we're going to be able to achieve that goal in the US healthcare system, internationally, we're going to have lots of other options. Different countries invest in preventative health in different ways. But in the US, I think it really comes down to the employers. And I think there's a very, very serious and important case to be made for why employers need to be investing in not just their employees' cognitive health, but the cognitive health of the employees' older family members.
That is, when you think about folks that have kids and then parents that are moving on, right? You're keying in on one of the big external stressors that people bring to work with them.
Right.
Less focused, more tired, more anxiety, right? Because of those things
Yeah.
that are going on. So I think that's one talk track. The other component, right, quite frankly, is companies are looking for a competitive advantage around benefits that is easy to tie into things they're already doing. And so I could see this as a part of employee assistance programming. I could see this a part of other additive premium benefit packages for organizations, because from a talent and retention standpoint, people are attracted to employers that are innovative in
Right.
the way that they try to take care of their team. So have you given any thought to, yes, there's a B2C model, but a different model that you get into the infrastructure of the employee benefits?
Yeah, I mean, so far in our research and conversations to date, there's this like hole in the market right now, right? So EAP programs, I believe, are delivering programs for like diabetes prevention, heart disease prevention. They're doing that, right, for the individual, for anyone working for them who has heart disease or has diabetes and needs extra support. They're providing programs to make that happen. They're also providing programs for employees who are also caregivers for their adult family members who are struggling with some disability, cognitive or otherwise, right? So EAPs already understand we need to help reduce the burden on caregivers, and they already understand we need to invest in preventative health, right? What isn't happening is that EAPs aren't investing in the preventative cognitive health of their employees, and they're also not investing in the preventative cognitive health of their employees' aging family members. So they're on both sides of it, but they're not in the middle of it, right? And one in four adults in the U.S. are caring for someone who has a cognitive impairment. That translates to 17% of full-time workers. 1 in 6 of workers in the U.S. are caring for a loved one with cognitive impairment. And that has huge business implications for that company in terms of absenteeism, presenteeism. Like, it's measurable and palpable.
That is awesome. So one, I could talk to you all day, right? And this is a 30-minute thing. Like I could talk to you all day. So I'm glad that we're friends. And in addition to this being just great content, I can keep up. There's some ways we're talking about being involved. Let me ask you this. We talked about go to market, some different ways of doing that. When is the commercial release of the product? So V1 that's going to be out in the market. What's that ballpark?
Let's say May to June.
All right. So let's say
I was
June,
I
right?
was 4 weeks, 6 weeks ago. I was hoping for April. So we're
And
we're we're right in that kind of like blocking, tackling, knocking out bugs and applying. We got a lot of amazing beta feedback, is what happened. We got a lot of great alpha feedback. We got a lot of great beta feedback. We're like, all right, we want to get this done before we launch, right? So
yeah,
yeah.
how do people get in touch with you and your team that want to try the product out, that want to tell a friend, what's the way that they can connect with Adam, with Mindr, so that they can do that in a proactive way?
Yeah, I mean, just go to mindr.us, mindr.us, sign up for our beta, reach out to me on LinkedIn. Happy to have conversations. Yeah, I mean, it's you can sign up for our beta right there, and the beta participants are going to be the first ones to get access to the paid product and any additional testing that we're doing for new features as well.
Adam, it's always a pleasure to chop it up with you. I think you layered kind of the vision of what you're trying to do with the very specific data points, right, that the research shows. And if I can put a bow on it and you add to it, right, is you digitize the behavioral experience, right, to make it fun and engaging, right? And that is the seedbed of a home run with digital products, right? People have to
Right.
enjoy working with it to stick with it. But the outcomes you're describing are pretty massive, and I can't wait to see what you all do with this as you launch the product. So, any closing thoughts for our audience as we wind down?
Yeah, I mean, if we have the time, there's a few key stats we didn't get to that I'd love to share, just so you
Yeah,
have the sound
bring it.
bites, you can kind of figure them out. So number one, older workers, 65 plus workers are the fastest growing labor segment in the U.S. It grew 117% over the past 20 years. It's estimated that by 2030, almost 10% of the U.S. labor force is expected to be over 65. Globally, that same trend is happening with 55 plus, which means that over the next 5 years, 150 million additional jobs will be filled by workers who are over 55. Right. Right. So then now 1/3 of Americans 65 and older have MCI. About 10% have dementia, 22% have MCI. These are people who are working. Each year, 10 to 15% of people with MCI are going to progress to dementia or Alzheimer's. And right now, 1 in 9 adults who are over 45 are struggling with some cognitive concerns significant enough to affect their daily productivity. And 50% of them have never talked to a healthcare professional about it, let alone their employers. So there's this quiet, secret epidemic of mild cognitive impairment and potentially more cognitive impairment that's moving into the workforce as we see this 10% growth in older employees. It is an imperative for employees to get in front of this and prevent as much of that cognitive decline as they can, because the employees are generally not going to tell them that it's happening. So they have to be proactive. There is no reactive solution here. You have to offer it to everyone, let everyone who cares about cognitive reserve and staying sharp and focused utilize it, right? Because it's inappropriate for a worker to say, "What is your medical condition?" So they have to get in front of it with proactive solutions. I got one more important one. 61% of employee caregivers are cutting back hours, taking leave, or dropping responsibilities as a result of the additional stress that they're under in the workforce. And the WHO says that for every dollar invested in reducing anxiety and depression in employees has a $4 return in health and productivity benefits. So it's all right there. Like, there's no one's doing it, and the returns are so clear, and the problem is growing significantly over the next 5 to 10 years. Employers need to be doing this right now.
Love it. I'm appreciative of you taking your talents, starting a business, entrepreneur. That's good for the economy, all that good stuff as you succeed, but chasing a problem that's going to have a global benefit to hopefully hundreds of millions of people. If we can get the word out that so much of this relative to Alzheimer's and dementia is solvable. And
Right.
so with that, we'll put a bow on it. We'll have you back as you continue. But Adam, I'll tell you, this is great content. Hopefully, my audience is going to love it, but hopefully you'll be able to take this, use some of the snippets for your outreach and different things. But this has been great. So
Yeah, I really appreciate
I'll
it,
sign
Don.
it up.
Thank you so much for helping me tell my story and get the word out. This is like it's so clear and it's so important and no one's doing it. And it's like, all right, this is I think like we can do this. Like we can do this.
Thank you for joining us on High Octane Leadership with Donald Thompson. Today's episode is a step in our collective journey towards leadership excellence. Remember, every story we share and every insight we gain is a piece in the puzzle of our leadership journey. For more insight and detail, hit the subscribe button so that we can stay connected. For deeper information and more episodes, go to donaldthompson.com. Continue to lead with vision and purpose, and until we meet again, embrace your role as a high-octane leader in the ever-evolving world of business.